I was in the supermarket one day and I looked around and I suddenly realised there's nothing here that I can eat. I didn't know what to do, but I just stood there and decided to pray right there and then. And I was leaving the supermarket with an empty trolley, and I just felt to go back and get a cooked chicken. Over the next couple of days, I did eat it, and it got me thinking, gosh, if that was really God showing me what to eat, I need to take it seriously. And I started to research meat, the importance of it in our diet, and I was shocked what I found. I found the carnivore community turned me 100% to realise just how much I'd been hoodwinked about eating vegetables and carbs. Yes, it was a real revelation.
Well, good afternoon, Claire. Well, welcome, Claire. You're in New Zealand, is that correct?
That's right, in Tauranga.
Well, kia ora. Very nice. I used to live in New Zealand for a brief period of my life. So I lived up near Hamilton in the North Island, a little town called Cambridge many years ago. I really enjoyed that time. So, well, first of all, thank you for taking the time and doing this. I know this is, I think I'm not even sure what time it is, early in the morning on Wednesday morning, I think. Where you're
yeah, 9 o'clock, 9 a.m. So
9 a.m.
It's
not terrible. We have some people coming in on my 9 a.m. meeting here locally, and it's about 2 a.m. for some of the Australians and other Kiwis to jump on there. So, well, welcome. Well, do me a favor. Just tell us a little bit of your story. You've got an interesting success story. So why don't you go ahead and just give us a little bit of your background and what was going on health-wise, and then kind of walk us through what's been going on lately.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm a mum of 4 children, and I have 11 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. And so that's kept me busy over the years. But regarding my health, I've had digestive issues for a number of years. Mainly, I'd put it down to just gastric issues, bloating, and a little bit of pain, acid reflux, just those sort of problems, which I was able to manage just with food, just changing my food. I went from a pretty horrific diet of high carbs to, in my 20s, just changing it to more healthy foods, what I thought was healthy. I started to have more fruit, natural foods, natural grains, ground my own wheat, made my own bread, and it eased a little bit, but didn't completely send those symptoms away. So I just learnt to manage it with food over the years. And then in 2020, it got worse. And so I eliminated more. I got right down to just eating rice, fish, a few vegetables, and just very limited food. And then suddenly developed microscopic colitis, and I didn't know it was that. I had to stay at home, and I couldn't leave the bathroom. So unless I didn't eat for 6 hours prior, I couldn't leave the house. So I just managed that for a little while. I tried to eliminate more foods, so I was getting really low on what I could eat. And I finally went to the doctor, and because I don't particularly like doctors, sorry. And he did a number of tests. He checked for Giardia. That was his first thought, because we had lived on a farm and had tank water. So he was thinking that could have been the culprit. But it wasn't. And the test came back negative. The blood test came back negative, and he really didn't know what it was. And so it went on for a few more months, and I continued to lose a lot of weight, which I was quite concerned about, because I'm not a big person anyway. And as I lost more weight, I got particularly concerned. I was thinking cancer and all the rest of it. but I couldn't manage it. So I went back to the doctor and he did some more tests, and he eventually thought it was microscopic colitis. And so from there, I had something to work with, which was good. I could research that. And he wanted to do a colonoscopy, but I said, no, I'd like to try and figure this out on my own first. I didn't want to go down the whole route of having steroids. I didn't like that idea, especially that it didn't actually heal the problem. I wanted to get to the root cause. And so I really didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to start. I researched microscopic colitis, and Wayne Persky was particularly helpful with that. I joined Microscopic Colitis Foundation online, and he was really helpful. He gave me lots of information, and I was able to talk to him about the symptoms and everything. So it was good. And then, I still didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to fix it. So I ended up, I was in the supermarket one day, and I looked around and I suddenly realised there's nothing here that I can eat. And I didn't know what to do, but I just stood there, and as I'm a Christian, I decided to pray right there and then. And I prayed, I don't know what to eat. And I just prayed silently, not to cause a stir in the supermarket. And I was leaving the supermarket with an empty trolley, and I just felt to go back and get I felt like I was prompted to go back and get a cooked chicken and take that home. And I certainly didn't feel like eating it. I felt quite nauseous. But over the next couple of days, I did eat it. And it got me thinking, gosh, if that was really God showing me what to eat, I need to take it seriously. And I started to research meat, the importance of it in our diet. And I was shocked what I found. I found the carnivore community. And needless to say, it turned me 100% to realise just how much I'd been hoodwinked about eating vegetables and carbs. And yes, it was a real revelation. So I began carnivore. Actually, when I started, I also included my rice because I had very low energy, and I ate a lot of rice, thinking, well, it's plain, so it'll be okay. But still no change. So I did that for 2 weeks. And then after 2 weeks, I thought, well, this isn't helping. I'll just go fully carnivore. I'll just eat meat. And within 24 hours, the symptoms stopped. And I was just delighted, of course. And it blew me away, because I thought, how is this possible? How can meat do this? So, and since then, it's been 6 months, and I've just continued to heal. When I first went fully carnivore, I had extremely low energy. I've always had a lot of energy in my life, but I had extremely low energy. And I put it down to the fact that I'd given up all carbs. But within a little while, that energy returned, and over the 6 months, I've been able to exercise more. I've even started lifting weights, so I'm getting serious now. Yes, so it's been great.
Good for you. I just, it's kind of when you're in the store and you have a sort of a message from God to eat some chicken, which I thought was, if you look at some of the different religions in the world, Christian and what other, most of them have significant references to the value of meat, and whether it's to nourish us or to be used as sacrifice. And so it's clearly there are many religious sort of prescriptions for meat in most religions,
yes.
And there's some exclusions with things like pork and something like certain religions, as I'm sure you're aware of. When you were visiting your doctor and he said, well, we don't know what it is, we need to do a colonoscopy, was there any discussion about diet? Did he say, hey, maybe this is a diet, because what you're eating, fish, some rice, a few vegetables and fruit. Most people would say that's a pretty darn healthy diet. That's, pescatarian. It doesn't have junk food, no sugar. No, most people say that's a wonderfully healthy diet. And yet on that quote unquote healthy diet, you were still doing poorly, sick, couldn't absorb food,
Yes.
colitis, no energy, on and on. Did the doctor ever mention diet to you at all? Was that ever a concern or much?
Yes, he did actually. He mentioned the FODMAPs, and I said I'd looked at that and it hadn't made a difference. And he also mentioned the GAP diet by Natasha McBride. And so I researched that in time as well. So I was quite thankful that he was open. And he recently contacted me just to check up on me, actually, just to see how I was progressing. And I told him, and I gave him reference to some of the sites that I'd been listening to. And so he's hoping.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, at least you didn't say you're crazy. You got to start with vegetables.
No, he's far too polite.
Good for you. And good for him for at least entertaining the thought of that. So, 24 hours, that's quite impressive. Were you, I mean, obviously you're thankful you're not having symptoms, but I mean, did you ever think that, well, this is just a fluke? And
no.
At what point did you realize that, hey, this is really making a difference to me?
Because I went full carnivore and I'd tried everything else. I'd tried eliminating so many foods, and when it was in full flare, nothing was working. I even tried. I started buying bottled water instead of tap water because I thought maybe there's something there. I'd changed our water since shifting. So I was trying everything, but nothing worked except when I went fully carnivore, when I only ate meat.
Yeah, New Zealand is, just a wonderful, a beautiful pastoral place. We've got all these great, lush, verdant landscape. You've got sheep running around all over the place. You've got, I think I don't know how many, 60 million sheep to 3 or 4 million people. I mean, there's 10 sheep to 1 people or something like that. It's kind of crazy when you go there 20 to 1.
5 million people.
Well, I think it was 3 million when I lived there in the 90s, and then there was like 60 million sheep. I used to laugh about that, and everybody had them in the yard, and I'd walk to the gym and I walk by sheep just walking around in the yards. Do you know if so your diet, you start out with chicken. Did you transition over to some of the more red meats? What does your diet look like these days?
Yes, well, I found that fatty lamb is the best. I feel the best on it, but I do include red meat, beef as well, and a little bit of chicken. Just to get a bit more variety. I'd like to include fish again soon. I'm just taking it really slowly. I'm aware, like every month I just feel so much better. So I thought I'm not going to rush it. I had introduced egg yolk at one stage and had a mild flare up. So I didn't want to do that again. Yeah, so just taking it slowly.
Yeah, fatty lamb, it's delicious. I can remember like when I was playing rugby there, and I was always people would invite me to their homes. It was lamb with roast kumara. It was like every time I went somewhere, that was always the dish, and it was great. I enjoyed it. For those who don't know, kumara is kind of like the equivalent of a yam or a sweet potato, basically. But and then the lamb is delicious in New Zealand for sure. So, since it's been 6 months now, can you contrast, your general state of health? Obviously the colitis is better, but did you notice anything else? Mental health improvements, energy, fatigue, strength, any of those things change for you since changing diets?
No, not really, except I also have Raynaud's, which I've suffered from feeling cold for many years. But I've noticed this year, my feet don't get as cold, and I don't know if I can put it down to just we've had a great early winter has been pretty mild. I won't know till the middle of winter how much progress has been made there, but no other symptoms really. Just I didn't have the brain fog like a lot of people have. But yeah, I've always kept quite well.
You mentioned that you were, when you first started the carnivore diet back 6 months ago, you were very low on energy. Has that
Yeah.
changed? Has your
Yes.
appetite picked up, or why has that changed, do you think?
Oh, yes, my appetite, 100%. I just so look forward to each meal, even though it's the same. I just so look forward to it. When I first started eating, my first meal, I remember looking at it and I just didn't know if I could swallow it. Just a plate of meat with fat on it, because I was so conditioned to think badly of fat. And so just looking at that meal, I didn't feel like it, but I ate as much as I could. And over time, I really look forward to it, and I just love the fat on it. So, and especially knowing, having researched so much about it now and knowing the good that it is for us. I love listening to Georgia Eddy. She has so much information about how good it is for our brains. So, yeah.
Yeah, George is great. I've had the opportunity to speak with her and visit with her many times. And so I haven't heard from her in a while, though. But,
right.
And it's one of those things that when you start not including carbohydrates in your diet, you've got to get energy. And I think that fat becomes so much more appealing because you're like, well, this is my fuel here. And it looks more appealing, tastes more appealing. And I think you just naturally shift to that. You mentioned you're not only a mother, a grandmother, even a great grandmother. Do you get does the family say, what are you doing? Are you crazy? Are they commentary? Look, grandma's just eating a bunch of meat. What do we get?
Yeah, no.
This grandma's in the kitchen baking chocolate cake, but what's the deal now with the family? How does that work?
It's working really well. One of my daughters, when I first told her, she thought I was going to have a heart attack and die. But in general, the majority of my family are very supportive. And, one of my granddaughters is a vegetarian, and she's extremely supportive of me. So, yeah, I'm very grateful. So, no, I haven't had any trouble. And another of my daughters is on keto. So, yeah.
Well, good for, I want to say, good for your family support, even your vegetarian granddaughter, just to realize that this is what's making you better. And you'd mentioned, you said, in years past, I mean, it was so bad, the colitis was so bad, you couldn't go out unless you hadn't eaten in 6 hours. That was the only safe time you had. How has that impacted your ability to interact socially and that stuff now? Has it changed significantly?
Yes, it has. I no longer have that fear. To leave the house was just, it was so fearful. I had to make sure that there was a restroom nearby, and I just put off going anywhere. But thankfully, it was only really for about 9 months that it was so bad. Yes.
Yeah, glad you discovered. I interviewed a gal from the UK not very long ago, maybe a week or two, maybe it was last week, in similar situation. Hadn't been able to leave the house in a decade or more. It's the same thing. It was just, I was afraid to go. I couldn't go out for more than 30 minutes, and then I'd be looking for the bathroom, and it was unpredictable, and it just wrecked her ability to socialize. And you could tell that she was so happy to be able to gain that back again, because it can be very isolating. Disease can be very isolating for people, and most people that don't experience it don't know what to say. And there's probably thousands and probably millions in a similar situation that just no longer can go out. And it's very, very sad to see that. You mentioned you started weightlifting, which bravo, good for you. I'm gonna give you 2 thumbs up for that. I think it's a wonderful thing.
Not as heavy. Not as much as you do.
Well, no, but I mean, it's just doing more than what you did before. It's going to make such a huge impact on you.
Yes.
How did you decide to do that? What encouraged you to do that, and how's that been going?
Well, I thought after losing all that weight, I actually thought I had the beginnings of sarcopenia. So because I'd lost muscle, and and I noticed I aged quite a lot in that time. So I thought, I've got to do something here, and I did a bit of research on how good it is for us. So I've begun with small weights and some stretchy bands. So I'll increase that as I build up a bit of muscle. I've got tiny little muscles in my arms now, so I'm pleased about that.
I was going to say, as opposed to no muscles in the arm. So that's great. That's wonderful. And you don't have to
Yeah.
have big giant muscles, just get a little bit stronger. And I think that,
Yes.
I think it makes you feel better as well. Just being a little bit
Yeah, it
stronger.
does.
It gives you that mental confidence and you're less anxious and less fearful. And I think it's such a wonderful, the
Yes.
physical aspects are obviously beneficial, but the mental aspects, I think many people underestimate the advantages of doing that. So I applaud you for doing that. What is the climate like in New Zealand these days? As far as I mean, we hear a lot of stuff in the news here about different parts of the world, and obviously it's been filtered and selected for us. And there's selective outrage, and everybody's trying to make everybody riled up. But are you seeing a significant push to do away with the wonderful animal agricultural, culture that you have in New Zealand with the wonderful pasture-raised beef and lamb and all the other things? Is that under attack significantly, or is that just mostly just a bunch of blustery people flapping their gums? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's not under attack significantly, but there is often mention of it, and there was a hint of bringing cattle indoors rather than letting them, free graze. But it wasn't very popular here in New Zealand. And I'm not actually sure if some farms have gone ahead with that. Yes. So
yeah, the rationale. It's kind of interesting. The rationale. I'm getting a lot of feedback. It's interesting. The rationale for that is that if we look at the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, they look at cattle emissions, and cattle grazing on grass actually produce more methane than those in a feedlot.
Yeah.
And so that's the rationale behind that. Now, if we look at the whole picture with carbon sequestration and some of the other stuff and the managing practices, it becomes negated or perhaps even beneficial in the other way. But I think in general, they're sort of looking for this real more industrial model for the rest of the world to participate in, particularly places like maybe Brazil and India and China and some of these big cattle producing nations or cattle countries that are really sort of doing it in more of the sort of the wide open way, which a lot of us appreciate. Do you, so you've tried to, a lot of people think that, if you don't eat fruit, I know we've got this sort of, I wouldn't say sect, but I would say there's people within this carnivore community that have, maybe they've solved their issues, they've gotten healthier and they're no longer insulin resistant. And now they're consuming fruits and other products and doing okay with that. There's other people that try that. I just talked to someone the other day that was on board with that. And then a year later, she's like, well, I'm not really so much on board with that anymore because some of my issues came back. Are you tempted to say, hey, I want to start consuming some strawberries and fruits back in the diet? Is that something on your mind right now?
No, not at all. All my life, trying to manage, my eating habits and trying to keep my weight down, especially in my early 20s. I was always hungry. I've spent my whole life being hungry, even though I thought I was eating healthily. I'm not hungry anymore.
Yeah.
But the meat is so satisfying. I just am delighted.
Yeah, it's an interesting, a very interesting concept in that meat provides this satiation and satiety. Satiety being the long feeling of not being hungry, and satiation meaning that acute. How much do I need to eat? I eat till I'm full, and then I don't need to eat again for 8 or 10 hours perhaps. And so I think that's a really neat thing about the way just meat in its natural form, particularly meat that's got a little more fat on it, does such a wonderful job.
Yes.
Do you have any goals are you thinking about like, I need to get so much protein in my diet, or you just eat when you're hungry and eat enough? And is that all you do?
Yes. No real goals at this stage. Although, as I say, I would like to introduce eggs and fish again soon. But I'm just taking it slowly, and probably within a couple of years, I would like to think I could add some berries back in. But yeah, I have no desire to add anything else, and I'm completely off carbs, even the thought of eating any of them.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that you need to add any of those, to be honest. I mean, it's one of those things where, there's people that are proponents of that, but I just see so many people do fine with just sticking to meat and doing it for indefinite periods of time. So I think you just kind of listen to your body, and if things are going well for you. That's just
Yes.
so wonderful. Has anybody in your inner circle, your family, friends, noticed a difference in you? And if so, have you told them, "Hey, I'm eating meat"? Has anybody said, "Hey, that sounds good, let me try it"? Or has everybody said you're crazy? Keep doing what you do?
No. Well, actually, my older sister, she has started doing this too for health benefits. So she didn't think I was crazy. That was good. And my son is half pie. He's doing it to lose weight. So yeah. So he's open to it too. I've been telling them all. They probably get sick of hearing me talking about it, but I've been telling them all about the nutritional value of it.
Yeah, of some lamb, right? When you, if you don't mind, I mean, you said you're a mother, grandmother, great grandmother. How old are you now? Would you mind sharing that?
No, I don't mind at all. I'm 66,
66.
almost 67, but I'll hang on to 66 for now.
So there's a chance you could make it to great grandmother, but very easily. I think
Yes.
grandkid in their
Yes.
20s could have a great grandkid in their 20s could have another one. So you could be a 5-generation person, which would be
Yeah.
really
That'd be
amazing.
great.
Yeah, that'd be awesome to see.
Yes.
Do you? So yeah, that's very good. Which part of New Zealand are you in? I remember you mentioned at the beginning, but I couldn't remember.
I'm on the east coast of the North Island in Tauranga, near the beach. Have you been to Tauranga, Mount Maunganui?
I've heard Mount Maunganui. I remember hearing the name. I don't think maybe I went there.
Okay.
It was 1992. It was a long time ago.
Oh, okay. You're right.
I know I went to Rotorua and I went to, obviously Hamilton and Cambridge and Auckland and some of the places, right. Lake Taupo and so, the places are not Whakatane, right. Those places. Yeah. But I stayed on the North Island. It was wonderful, wonderful. I'd love to come back and visit one day because it's such a neat place.
Yes, do that.
Well, Claire, is there anything else you want to share? I don't want to keep you too long. And I know this is and again, I thank you for sharing your story. This is something that, undoubtedly is going to inspire some people. This is what it says about, just kind of, sharing information so people can make of it what they will. Some people take it to heart. And I mean, that's probably why you did it. You probably saw somebody else talking about this, I imagine, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I would just encourage anybody to give it a go. It's for weight loss, for neurological problems, if there's anxiety, even heart disease. I know somebody who recently had to put a stent in their artery for heart problems, and I've encouraged them to begin this too because they had a high carb diet. Just type 2 diabetes, all these conditions can just be so helped with this diet. And I would encourage anybody to give it a go. You've certainly got nothing to lose and a lot to gain. And even for general health, I'd love to see more of my grandchildren do it because just for good health. And especially the little ones, I'd like to see the difference in them if they have more protein in their diet. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great sentiment. Thank you for sharing. The rest of you guys, thanks for tuning in. I know this is kind of different hours. Whenever we have somebody from the Southern Hemisphere, New Zealand, Australia, we have to put it in the afternoon. But thank you so much, Claire. Have a great morning. And
thank you.
Wonderful to hear your story. I look forward to hearing how you do over the years. So thank you, Claire.
Right. Thank you, Shawn.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody. Take care.